So you're ready to buy a camera. You want something a little more powerful than your phone. You search which camera to buy, and there's a million options. In this video, what we're gonna do is just give you all the options, tell you what I went with and what I started with, so that way you got a better option. I'm gonna assume you're doing this for more of a hybrid style, something that's gonna be good with photo and video. So you wanna look out for a few things whenever you're going to buy your first camera. Now, a few things we're gonna talk about: 3 things to look for, 3 things to avoid, and 3 things that you need to know. Now, I'm gonna assume you're wanting a hybrid camera. So a hybrid camera is gonna be anything that can take photos and videos at the same time. Some higher end filmmaking cameras like the Blackmagic only shoot video. And so you'll have that group of people who say,
"Oh, you're not a videographer unless you're shooting on a cinema camera."
Don't get caught up in the lingo. Starbucks coffee tastes just like coffee from your coffee pot. It's all about what you like, and you'll learn as you go what features you want to look for. If you're going to be creating content solo, you're trying to market yourself, you're trying to market your business, you want to have a flip screen, a flip out screen. Some cameras only flip up like this or just upward, and you don't want that because you're going to be creating content solo. So you're going to have to flip the camera around and make sure you're in the scene and everything looks good. You don't have junk in the background because you won't always have someone behind the camera. You got to do this on your own. You're going to be learning on your own. A flip out screen is definitely top of the list. Number 3 you want to be looking out for is a clean HDMI. That's for if you want to do an external recorder, which that's also another video down the line. This clean HDMI allows that external recorder, and it also allows you to tether. Now, what tethering is I have this orange HDMI going into my camera. It's a long cord, and it's running all the way to this computer screen. And when you go on projects, it's good to pull this up for a client on a shoot or just a bigger view. You can do this with an iPad or anything like that. But a clean HDMI is what you want. Now, 3 things you'd want to avoid. So first things first, when you purchase the lens, make sure you don't purchase the kit lens with it. That kit lens that comes with it, it's a piece of junk. You can save you a few dollars if you just buy the camera body. So just purchase the camera body, scrap the lens. The lens we're going to cover in the next video. We'll get into all that. But just know that your body is the brain and the lens does all the heavy lifting. When you're buying a camera, make sure that it has an interchangeable lens, that you can take the lens off and put it back on and swap it out for others. I wanted that blurry background. I wanted that nice look. And I couldn't get that with the camera I purchased. I purchased the Sony ZV-1, and that was a point and shoot camera. The lens that was on it, when you turned it on, it just would zoom in and zoom out. You couldn't replace it. You couldn't take the camera lens off. It was stuck on there. And so that comes with some drawbacks. You can always grow into another lens, but you can't grow into another body. So you don't want to start at the bottom. That just holds you to where you're at. With that point and shoot Sony ZV-1 I had, that was as far as I can get. I couldn't do nothing crazy with it or add to it or purchase lenses. I couldn't grow with it. You want to avoid cameras that do not have a higher frame rate. What do I mean by that? Some of these cheap cameras only film with 24 frames to 30 frames. Now, before we get into the technical part, just a rough run around. Basically, if you want that slow-mo, you want to be shooting in about 60 frames. I shoot on my Canon R5 119 frames, and that's super slow-mo. That's buttery. You don't need all of that. But you definitely want a camera that's capable of shooting at least 60 frames. And that leads you into your resolution. So everyone's crazy about 4K and 8K, and there's even cameras with 12K. If you're posting to just social media, they're not going to be able to tell the difference between 1080, which is high definition, or 4K. They don't know the difference. Our phones doesn't even show 4K. The 4K just gives you enough information to be able to zoom in if you need to and still get some good quality. The cheaper cameras, they don't do 4K at higher frame rates. They might do 4K at 24 frames, but if you go up to 30 frames, you're only getting 1080 or HD. If you go up to 60 frames, if they even have 60 frames available, That's only 1080. You want to at least maybe get some 4K at least 30 to 60 frames, okay? I know that's a lot to take in, but just look at the frame rates, break it down, and I'll have a little spread for you to keep an eye out, make you a little checklist on what to look for. Try and pay attention to the sensor size. Now you have full frame sensors, you have APC sensors, or crop sensors. This is a lot. I don't even want to go into all the details. Get you a full frame sensor that allows you to have the full sensor available to you. If you do a crop sensor or an APC sensor and you put the lens on it, there's all kinds of different problems you'll run into. You need to get certain lenses for certain sensors. Just go with the full frame. You're gonna get some better quality, better lighting capabilities with the full sensor. It's not a game breaker, but you wanna just buy it once so you don't have to buy it again. Buy it nice or you buy it twice. Make sure you're paying attention to the sensor size. You can pick whatever brand you want. Do your research on the brands, but I would recommend at minimum a Canon R. I rode with Canon. I did extensive research between all the companies and I went with Canon. Most of my buddies had Canon. They had the most available lens selections for Canon and the colors are just so popping, you know, it's just like almost ready to go. For filmmaking, you don't see too many Canon users. You see everybody's got a Sony and Sony's hating on Canon, but Canon has some crazy capabilities, some awesome photography features, and the new line of lenses and camera bodies in the R series is just incredible. Now, when I say the R series, that's Canon R, Canon RP, R6, R5, R3. All those R's, that's the Canon R series. So at least jump into the Canon R series. That way you can start purchasing RF lenses. Now, whenever you purchase a body, you want to make sure the lenses are compatible. The thing that's awesome about the Canon R bodies is you can buy an adapter and buy all the last line of camera lenses with the adapter. So you can go a lot cheaper on those lenses with all the ones before it. However, if you buy like a Canon M50, which is basically a good starter camera, you can't get the RF lenses. You're only exposed to the EF or the EFS lenses. So just pay attention whenever we start talking about lenses. And so I'm gonna recommend you what I have, only because if I'd have bought this the first time and not played around, we'd have been a lot more invested, a lot more time would have been used more valuably, if that's even a word, and we'd have been ready to go.